going on, everybody? Welcome to Poetically Christian Gamer. Thank you guys so much for clicking on the video. Today we've got another edition of Should Christians Play, the series where we go between the ratings of the ESRB to answer the questions, should a Christian play, and is this game accessible for me? Hi guys, my name is Derek. I'm a legally blind gamer and preacher, and today we're going to be reviewing Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. Boy, that's a mouthful. But before we get to that, guys, if you would like to help me out, if you like Christian gaming accessibility reviews, and you like Let's Plays for faith and fun, retro and modern games, Bible sermons, all things for God and gaming, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel on Poetically Christian Gamer, and hit the little bell icon, and that'll alert you the next time we make any of our reviews, gameplays, or so much more, guys. And of course, liking, sharing these videos out on social media, and commenting on them on YouTube, guys, helps me to get to know you, and it helps me to further the kingdom with the algorithm. We are currently on the road to 700 subscribers, guys. We're trying to get to that all-important 1,000 on our first leg of the journey here, and we can't do it without you guys. It's so important to help us with our ministry, and I love each and every one of you, and I don't just say that. And if you're watching on Poetically Christian Gamer Twitch, guys, you can hit the follow button, and you can join us when we do our Let's Plays live, guys, and join us in the conversation, be part of it. It's always fun to have you with me. All right, with all that being said, you know how we do, guys. We do these reviews on two different fronts. Is the game physically accessible for the low vision and blind, the deaf and hard of hearing, and the motor disabled? And of course, is the game morally accessible for a Christian to play? So let's jump in here, guys, and let's jump in with the physical accessibility, and let's jump in with the low vision and blind. As I always say, that's the spectrum I come at things from. So first of all, guys, from the low vision and blind point of view, this game has kind of a mixed bag, as I've been saying in some of these reviews, but it really kind of holds true. This game was originally made for the PlayStation 4 that was able to be played on the PlayStation 5, the Nintendo Switch, and PC. And now it's been ported over to the Xbox One and is playable via backwards compatibility through your Xbox Series S and X, but only digitally. No physical copies here. All right. I wanted that guy to say it. All right, we're going to jump in here, guys, and kind of show you what the game. So on our menu, the main menu here, before you get into anything, you have a few options. You know, you got your offline, your online, things like that. It by default has you highlighted on the offline. If you are low vision and blind, this is kind of a rough menu. It is dark background somewhat, and we do have light writing, but the writing is small. It could definitely be bigger. And of course, we have no menu narration at all. So, but it by default has you highlighted on the offline. So if you're just looking to jump in and play some arcade battles offline, just go ahead and hit your A button or your X button if you're playing on PlayStation, and it jumps you to your menu here, your game select menu. Now, once you get into here, the menus are much bigger writing, highlighted still, and they are verbalized. I'll show you guys. So if you select a game, it tells you what you selected. Let's say you don't want to play that game. Hit the select button on your Xbox controller. Hit up once on your D-pad. Select with A. Up once again to confirm you want to leave. And it'll kick you right back out to the menu, guys. So pretty awesome. At least we have this part of the menus narrated. And of course, once you go into each fighting game, when you select each character that you want to play as, you know, it will also verbalize the fighter that you selected. So that helps as well from the low vision blind standpoint. You can select hit your X button, or it would be your square button on PlayStation, and it will kick you to the menu for your settings, all those things you want to adjust. This would take some sighted assistance, but once you get things set up, it auto saves it, and you're good to go, guys. You can adjust your difficulty here. You can adjust your screen size. You can even adjust whether you want the hidden fighters to be accessible on the game. So those fighters, let's say X-Men Children of the Atom, for example, you can easily select, Magneto, Akuma, Juggernaut, that are up in the upper part of the screen above the main roster, and you can easily select those guys. So that's pretty cool. They even have the hidden fighters on there. So I like that. Of course, a fighting game lends itself to being more approachable for someone low vision or blind because it's 2D most of the time on a single plane. Only 2 characters you have to worry about. And of course, your fighting controls, you know what you're in for. A Capcom game, your basic Street Fighter-esque controls here. There is different things on this game to punch up the sound up and down in the settings as well to make it easier for the low vision blind to be able to hear certain things coming at you. So yeah, pretty approachable. And with these menus, the game selection being narrated, that helps. With the fighter select screen being narrated, whoever you select, that helps. On some of the earlier games, the roster is small, so the roster memorization is easy. Especially on X-Men Children of the Atom, there's only 10 playable characters, even counting the extra, there's only 13. On Marvel Superheroes, same thing, 10, 13 counting the extra, and you just kind of go from there. This game features 7 games, so we have X-Men Children of the Atom, we have Marvel Superheroes, we have X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom 1, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and even a beat-em-up game, The Punisher, which is a nice addition, kind of mixes things up a little bit. So nice package of 7 games here, and all are approachable for the low vision and blind. After you get those initial settings kind of set up there, not too bad. Definitely approachable, definitely playable. And with these menus being narrated and the rosters being narrated, a little bit helps, definitely. So overall, I mean, it's not the most fantastic thing. These are old arcade ports, so they could only do so much to modernize things. But, with the difficulty settings, being able to adjust those and make it playable. These are the arcade ports, so they are going to be challenging. I will say that even with the difficulty toned down, these games, I'm a fighting game guy, so I'm pretty adept with fighting games, and these will definitely challenge you. Certain games, certain ones aren't as bad as others, but they are definitely going to. X-Men Children of the Atom's definitely going to challenge you, and things like that. So, but it is approachable. It's not unapproachable. So overall, I'm just going to split the difference here and say this game gets a C to C plus for the low vision and blind. We have some narration here. We have some big menus, nice contrast going on. So it does make this game and this collection playable. For the deaf and hard of hearing, there is subtitles in this game, but nothing above what you would expect. The basic stuff. And of course, the certain things between the fights, the talking is captioned out, dialogued out, subtitled out. So you don't have to worry about that. So splits the difference. C as well. You get what you need, but nothing more than you need. And for the motor disabled, there is button remapping on this game, and a cool thing is they have kind of used the ease of controls that we saw in Street Fighter 6. So in Street Fighter 6, I did that review. If you guys missed it, go check out. I have an entire playlist on the YouTube channel, Poetically Christian Gamer, Should Christians Play, Christian Gaming Reviews. We looked at Street Fighter 6. We even looked at the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection. But on Street Fighter 6, you kind of had the ease of controls. You had what they called a modern control set where you could still do the button presses, do things, but you also had some of the special attacks mapped to a single button. Well, they have the same thing on this game, which is truly awesome. You take these old arcade ports and kind of modernize the controls. So you can still hit all your inputs to do the moves as you typically would do. Your down forwards for your fireballs and back forwards and things like that, like typical Street Fighter controls. But they have things mapped to the left bumper, or on PlayStation, it would be your L1 button. If you tap that, they will do their special attack. And if you hold it forward and hit the button, then they will do a different attack. And of course, your super attacks are mapped to your left and right trigger buttons. So pretty awesome. I'm assuming that would be R2 and L2 on your PlayStation controller. Awesome. Very awesome. And you can, like I said, button remap. So for the motor disabled, this game would get an A. There's everything modernized that you would want here. for your control scheme. You can have one button presses to do cool moves and things. So really, really awesome. So glad that they included that. All right, guys. So that is the physical accessibility review. Now, what about morally? Is this game morally accessible for a Christian to play? And I'm going to get to the gameplay here in a minute, as I've been doing, guys, showing you guys what these games look like in practice, so you get a feel and can hear them, see them, feel them, and decide whether it's something you'd want to play. And I will get to that. Morally, for this game, as I said, we got 7 games here. This game got an ESRB rating of T14. Of course, for violence, for suggestive themes, for use of tobacco and drugs and things like that. References, really, to those things. And it has all those things. It's your typical animated fighting game, pretty much a lot like Street Fighter. You do have the blood in the screens, again, between the fights, as it shows your guys battered and bruised, as we talked about in the Street Fighter 30th anniversary. You have the same thing going on here. In fights, you don't have any of those kind of, blood and gore over the top. This isn't Mortal Kombat or anything like that. But you have your fantasy violence. They're going to be shooting superpowers at each other, punching kicks, ultra combos, things like that. One of the warnings I will give, this is for a different set of things that I have not covered this in previous reviews. But this game does have the ability to turn the screen flashing off. So if you are prone to seizures, or if you have that going on and these games are too much, you can turn that off or dumb it down a little bit. So that's a nice feature as well. Forgot to say that. That is in the settings menu. You can turn that off for each of these games, because they do have a lot of flashing effects when you do your combos and ultra combos and powers and things like that. So forgot to mention that in the physical accessibility. Yeah, but for morally, it has all those things. It is animated fighting, typical stuff. You've got your little bit battered and bruised between the screens. Some of the ladies in the games and the men are kind of, questionably dressed. Mostly not. On most of the games, they're pretty good, but on some of the games, that's kind of questionable. We have some shirtless men and some, skin showing on some of the ladies. Nothing egregious, but it is there, and if that's a lust or temptation for you, then it is in some of the games. I'm just letting you know that's there, and you can adjust accordingly, but you don't have to play certain games. If you find one that's a temptation for you on a certain game, you don't have to play that game. That's a nice thing about having a collection here, is you can go to whatever the games don't have, what tempts you, and play just those games. So pretty awesome. There's a way of wraparound, as I say in these reviews. I always look for the ways of avoiding things as a Christian. Wraparounds, is there ways that you can get around things? And we do have that in this game. I will say, as far as the language goes, you don't have anything over the top here. Mild little stuff in their dialogues in the in-between fight things. What I do have is kind of a weird thing as far as blasphemy. Take it for what you will. In the Marvel superheroes fighting game, the final boss is Thanos, and before the fight begins, Thanos says pray. That's all he says, is pray. But is that suggesting that he's referring to himself as a god, or is it just simply saying, you better pray because you're not going to win this fight? You could take that either way. I take it as, you better pray because you're not going to win this fight, kind of thing, like he's being arrogant kind of thing. But, if you are bothered by that as a Christian, as far as a blasphemous thing, I could understand that, and I'm just letting you know that is in that particular game. So yeah, overall, it's kind of a mixed thing. There is some things present, but they're avoidable. If there's a certain game where the dress of the characters bothers you, you don't have to play that particular game. You can avoid the Marvel superheroes game if you don't like that line from Thanos. You can punch the sound effects up and down and help with things to try to avoid that. So yeah, I mean, you can do a lot of things to help you. The violence is there. If you do have trouble with violence or animated violence, that is present in all the games. So there's not going to be any way of avoiding that. In the Punisher fighting game, or beat 'em up, more rather, there is gunplay in that game. Once in a while, as you're mostly, fisticuffs, beating up, a typical beat 'em up, Streets of Rage style, Final Fight style. But every now and again, there will be a power up you can pick up, which is a gun, and you shoot people. But there is no blood, no dismemberment, nothing like that. You hit the guys and they fall down and they make their little thing, typical for the time. So that is in there again. I wanted to let you know on that. So yeah, overall, I would say this game is approachable because you have options. Options of avoiding certain things, options of wrapping around things. So, and it being animated, not being too egregious, over the top, no over the top blood and gore or anything like that. I would give this game a solid C to C+ for Christian accessibility. It's not too bad. There's ways that I like having options, as you guys know, and of avoiding things. So overall, give the game a C+ for Christian accessibility. So with all that being said, let's get to some gameplay. You guys can see, is this something you'd want to play or not? Let's start with X-Men Children of the Atom here, guys. One of the games I grew up with in the arcade as a kid. So, let's see. Will be Magneto, one of the specialty characters. Oh, pretty awesome, guys. Oh, it's like a get over here. Oh. Oh. Pretty awesome. And you can move before the fight, guys. You can get in position. Magneto is very cheesy, guys. You can tell why he's broken. He's OP. You can actually just keep jumping and tapping your fierce attack, fierce punch, and do that. You are beaten. I mean, it's pretty. And here's the in-between, guys. Typical Street Fighter-esque stuff going on here, guys. But the game is so awesome. Being able to play as Magneto. Juggernaut is pretty cool. X-Men, I was a huge X-Men kid in the 90s. And this game to me was just like a dream come true. I did not have a Sega Saturn. So I didn't really play this as a kid. Double knock. Yeah, I just want to show you guys a little bit what these games look like. And so you could have a judge whether this is something that sounds like, feels like, something you'd want to play. Oh. You win. You are beaten. Magneto is free. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'll show you one more game here, guys. We'll go ahead and get out of this, and I kind of like the one-on-one fighters, but I also, the tags are cool too. We'll show you this, and then I'll even show you a little bit of the Punisher, so you guys can kind of get a feel. You know what the tags are. Most of you guys know what Marvel, be Spider-Man. You know what you're in for with the Marvel vs. Capcom games. They've been around. I kind of wanted to show you some of the older games on the package in case you missed these games. Yes, we have Blackheart on this game, and that's something else that could have been mentioned in the Christian accessibility. He is on Marvel Superheroes fighting game. That's the only one he's on. Or no, he's on some of the other ones as well. But there's nothing he says or anything that would take you, as far as bother you Christian-wise. But you kind of have this, like, demonology thing going on. And so if that bothers you, he's in this game as well. I forgot about him. Oh. Spider-Man's awesome, guys. Oh, got him. Woo. One for JJ. Yeah, you can see a little bit of this. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Alright, so you guys get the idea of Spider-Man and Marvel superheroes. Like I said, that's the game on the package I would think would be the most troublesome for the Christian, because you have Blackheart in it and you got Thanos in it. So, okay, we got the Punisher. Kind of show you guys what the Punisher looks like a little bit here, as it's the oddity in this collection is it's a beat 'em up instead of a typical fighting game, traditional fighting game. So I plan on doing a complete playthrough of this on the channel, so stay tuned for that, guys. All right. Yeah. You gotta love the fighting games from the 90s, the beat 'em ups. You fight the same 5 enemies with different hair colors or different clothes colors, different names. They always had the crazy names. And you got these little storyline stuff in between. It's all captioned out. Pretty cool. A little dog. See, we added our gun there. So overall, pretty cool. You got your special attacks as well. All right, guys. So I just kind of wanted to show you what these games look like in practice, so you can have a good gauge of whether, this would be something you'd want to play or not. Overall, I would have to give these games a pretty good rating. There's a lot here for folks. So overall, this has been another review of Should Christians Play. If this has helped you guys, let me know in the comments below. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you won't miss any of our future Christian gaming reviews, any of our Let's Plays, Bible sermons, and so much more, guys. And of course, giving these videos a like on YouTube, sharing them, commenting on them on YouTube helps me to get to know you guys and helps me with the algorithm to further the kingdom. And if you're watching on Poetically Christian Gamer Twitch, hit that follow button, you guys, and you can join us on the Let's Plays when we're live and be part of the show. I'd love to have you with me. Yes, for the physical accessibility, low vision, blind, you got the contrasted menus. For most of it, they're decent size writing on the inner menus, and the light contrast for the writing and the light contrast for what you're highlighted on. The outer menus are not as big as they need to be and should be, but with a little sighted assistance or a little memorization, you can get through it. We have the narrated game select screen, narrated character select screen on the rosters for all the games. Pretty cool. You know what you're doing. Overall, being a fighting game, it is approachable. C+. For the deaf and hard of hearing, you just have the basic subtitles. You have the things captioned out in between the fights, the dialogue. Nothing overly great, but nothing that's detrimental to you not being able to play the game. C. And for the motor disabled, truly awesome. Complete button remapping, ease of controls, one button specials, one button supers. everything that you would want from modernized controls, A. And of course, for the moral accessibility, as I said, you got some of the characters that male and female that may be questionable in their dress, but you have the ability to avoid that by simply not playing that particular game in the collection. We're not selecting that character. The violence is controlled. The blood is between the fights, only in the little dialogue between the characters. So nothing egregious or over the top there. There's no language to speak of. This light stuff, mild stuff is their banner back and forth to each other. The blasphemy is something that is, again, that's up to interpretation on Thanos and things like that. But if you're bothered by Blackheart, you know, and his background being in flames and stuff, I could see that. If you want to avoid the demonology, but you can just simply avoid playing the Marvel Superheroes game itself. So a way to be avoided. So there is some things in this game, but there is ways to avoid all these things. So overall, I'm going to split the difference and as well say a C to C+ for moral Christian accessibility, as there is ways of getting around things and playing this game. I hope that's helped you guys on this review of Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. This has been another edition of Should Christians Play, the series where we go between the ratings of the ESRB to answer the questions, should a Christian play? And is this game morally and physically accessible for me? I love you guys. God loves you. And until the next one, blessed wishes.